John Miller wiped sweat from his forehead as he checked the corn crops. The morning sun rose over New Haven, painting the sky a gentle orange. He had been a farmer here for 10 years, and life on this colony world felt simple and good. His wife, Maria, was inside making breakfast, and their 2 children, Sam and Lucy, were still sleeping. Then the sky went dark. John looked up and saw something that made his blood run cold. Huge black shapes covered the stars like massive hands blocking out the light. The shapes were so big he couldn't see where they ended. His hands shook as he grabbed his radio. "This is John Miller, District 7. Something's wrong, really wrong, big ships in the sky." Static crackled back. Then came a voice he recognized. Lisa Grant from the Defense Force. "All civilians, this is Major Grant. Get to the underground. Bunkers immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Fire rained from the sky. John ran toward his house as explosions erupted across the plains. The grass that had been green moments ago now burned with terrible orange flames. The air filled with smoke and the sound of screaming. "Maria! Kids! Get up! Now!" John burst through the door. His family scrambled out of bed, still in their pajamas. He grabbed their emergency packs. Every colonist kept one ready. Outside, their neighbor Bob Jenkins ran past with his family. His little girl was crying. John had known Bob for years, shared beers with him, helped him build his barn. Now Bob's clothes were singed and his face was covered in ash. "The town center's gone," Bob shouted. "Direct hit, we need to get to Bunker 5. They ran together. Above them, the alien ships unleashed wave after wave of weapons fire. The plasma bolts looked like falling stars, but each one hit the ground with enough force to shake the earth. John saw the Miller's general store explode. The church where they held weddings crumbled into dust. Lisa Grant's voice crackled over the radio again. "Bunker 5 is at capacity. Civilians in District 7 proceed to Bunker 9. Repeat, Bunker 9. Dan Parker gripped the controls of his transport ship, the Stormbird. He was hauling supplies back to New Haven when the attack started. Through his viewport, he watched the colony burn. "Get us out of here, Dan," his co-pilot Jake said. "We can't help them now." Dan's jaw tightened. He had friends down there, people he'd shared meals with, played cards with. But Jake was right. They needed to warn Earth. "Setting course for Sol System," Dan announced. "Maximum speed." The Stormbird lurched forward, its engines screaming. Behind them, New Haven disappeared in a cloud of fire and smoke. In the bunker, John held his family close. The underground chamber was packed with people. Children cried. Adults tried to look brave. The lights flickered as explosions rocked the surface. Major Lisa Grant moved through the crowd, checking on people, maintaining order. Despite the chaos above, she remained calm. Her uniform was dirty and torn, but her voice stayed steady. "We'll get through this," she told an elderly woman. "The Defense Force won't abandon us." John overheard her talking on her radio. "Admiral Brooks, this is Grant. The colony's lost. I've got 3,000 civilians in the bunkers, but we can't stay here forever. They're using weapons that burn through rock." The response came back full of static. "Hold your position, Major. Help is coming." Lisa caught John's eye. She must have seen the fear there. She walked over and knelt beside his family. "You're the farmer from District 7, right? The one who won the harvest contest last year?" "Yes, ma'am," John replied. "That was me." "Your corn was the best I ever tasted," she said, smiling at his children. "When we get out of this, I want some more, deal?" Sam and Lucy nodded, some of the fear leaving their faces. Across the bunker, Bob Jenkins was talking to other parents, trying to keep the children distracted with stories. The school teacher, Mrs. Betty Wilson, had organized the kids into a circle for songs. People were sharing food and water, making sure everyone had enough. Above ground, the alien attack continued. The ships moved across the sky like dark clouds, methodical and relentless. They targeted everything: homes, farms, factories, power stations. Nothing was spared. On the Stormbird, Dan watched the scanner readings. "We're 4 hours from Earth. Those ships, they're not just attacking New Haven. Look at these signatures." Jake studied the data. 3 colonies burning. And there's a main fleet. Oh God, Dan. They're heading for Earth. Dan felt his stomach drop. Earth wasn't ready for this. Nobody was ready for this. He'd served in the Colonial Defense Force before becoming a freighter captain. He knew Earth's defenses were designed for pirates and smugglers, not a full invasion force. Patch me through to Defense Command, Dan ordered. Priority 1. The connection took a moment. Then a voice came through. This is Admiral Kate Brooks, Defense Command. Identify yourself, vessel. Admiral, this is Captain Dan Parker, transport. Stormbird. New Haven is gone. 3 colonies burning. Large alien fleet heading for Earth. Estimated arrival. Dan checked his calculations. 72 hours. Silence on the other end. Then the Admiral spoke again, her voice tight. Captain Parker, transmit all data immediately. Return to Earth with maximum speed. And Captain? Yes, Admiral? God help us all. Dan cut the transmission and looked at Jake. His co-pilot's face was pale. We've got to warn them, Jake said. Give them time to prepare. We will, Dan replied, pushing the engines harder. And we're going to fight. Earth doesn't surrender, we never have. In the bunker, the lights went out completely. Emergency power kicked in, casting everything in dim red light. John felt Lucy grip his hand tighter. Daddy, when can we go home? John looked at the ceiling, knowing their home was probably gone. But he heard Major Grant's voice cut through the darkness. We're all going home, she announced to the bunker. It might take time, but we're going home. These aliens picked the wrong species to mess with. A quiet cheer went up from the crowd. John found himself believing her. Humans were stubborn. They didn't give up. Even in this dark bunker, with fire raining from the sky, people were helping each other, sharing what they had, protecting the weak. The attack went on for hours, but the people endured. And somewhere between the explosions and the fear, John realized something. The aliens had made a mistake. They thought fire would break humanity. They didn't understand that fire had always made humans stronger. The emergency meeting room buzzed with activity. President Richard Hayes sat at the head of a long table, surrounded by military leaders and scientists. The walls displayed holographic maps, showing red warning zones across 3 colony worlds. Every screen showed the same message: alien invasion force heading toward Earth. Admiral Kate Brooks stood to address the room. We have confirmed reports from Captain Parker. New Haven, Titan Station, and Colony Prime are under attack. The enemy fleet will reach Earth in 68 hours. What do we know about them? President Hayes asked. Very little, sir, Admiral Brooks replied. They call themselves the Xerac Empire. Their ships are massive, their weapons are powerful, and they seem to attack without warning. Dr. Alex Turner, a thin man with thick glasses, raised his hand. He had spent 10 years studying alien cultures from intercepted communications. Mr. President, I've been analyzing their message patterns. The Xeracs appear to use a rigid command structure. Everything flows from the top down. They've never encountered a species that what, Doctor? The President interrupted. That doesn't recognize their authority to rule, Turner finished. Every message they send assumes submission. They're not asking for surrender. They're demanding it as if it's already decided. Steve Johnson, commander of the First Fleet, spoke up. Sir, we need to activate the Iron Wall Protocol. Every ship, every weapon, every person who can hold a... the President nodded slowly. Do it, we fight with everything we have. Mary Collins, the chief engineer, started typing on her tablet. Sir, I've got an idea. We don't have enough military ships, but we have thousands of civilian vessels, cargo haulers, mining ships, even private yachts. You want to arm civilian ships? Admiral Brooks asked. I want to turn them into weapons, Mary replied. Give me 48 hours and I'll show you what human creativity can do. Across the solar system, people received the call to arms. Mine workers in the asteroid belt got new orders. Convert your drilling equipment into bombs. Cargo ship captains were told to report to the nearest military depot for weapons installation. Even passenger ships began mounting defensive systems. Paul Rodriguez, a general with 40 years of combat experience, coordinated the resistance on the colony worlds. He sent a simple message to every human settlement. If they invade, make them bleed for every inch. On New Haven, Major Lisa Grant organized the survivors into fighting units. They couldn't hide forever. When the Xerax came to check their conquest, they would find humans waiting. "We can't fight them head-on," Lisa told her team, "but we can make them think twice about walking on human soil." Bob Jenkins, the farmer who had fled with John Miller, surprised everyone by volunteering to lead a scouting group. "I know every bunker, every cave, every hidden place on this planet," he said. "Let me show you how to disappear." On the Stormbird, Dan Parker pushed his engines beyond safety limits. Earth needed time to prepare. In the cargo hold, his crew worked to jury-rig weapons systems onto his transport ship. "Dan, we're not built for combat," Jake warned. "Nobody's built for this," Dan replied. "But every ship that can fire a shot buys Earth another minute." Sarah Williams, a computer expert at Defense Command, stared at her screens. She had found something interesting in the Xerac communications. "Admiral, look at this," she called. "Their ships all talk to each other constantly. They share everything. Targeting data, shield status, even crew locations. That's good networking," the Admiral replied. "It's also a weakness," Sarah said. "If I can get into one ship, I can potentially access them all." "Can you do it?" Sarah smiled. "Give me access to the quantum computers, and I'll show you how humans handle digital warfare." Kevin Lee, barely out of college, joined Sarah's team. Kevin had spent his life hacking government systems for fun. Now the government wanted him to hack the aliens. "Their security is impressive," Kevin admitted, "but it's designed for obedience, not intrusion. They never imagined someone from outside. Their system would try to get in." Meanwhile, Amy White prepared the orbital shipyards for battle. These massive structures normally built peaceful vessels. Now they produced weapons of war. "We need ships that can adapt in combat," Amy told her engineers. "Modular weapons, reconfigurable shields, everything changeable on the fly." Her team worked around the clock. Traditional ship designs took months. Amy wanted results in days. "The Xerax build ships for specific roles," she explained. "We're building ships that can be anything we need them to be." Dr. Turner continued studying Xerax psychology. He made a discovery that changed everything. "They don't understand chaos," he announced to the War Council. "Their entire culture is based on order and prediction. Human unpredictability terrifies them, even if they don't admit it." "How do we use that?" President Hayes asked. "We show them what happens when humans stop playing by the rules," Turner replied. The president issued his famous order. "Every human, every ship, every weapon fights differently. No standard tactics, no predictable patterns. Show them what humanity means." Earth transformed into a fortress. Mining ships practiced combat maneuvers, cargo vessels tested new weapon systems. Even restaurants converted into supply depots. In the bunkers of New Haven, children drew pictures of humans beating aliens. Adults sharpened knives and made bombs from salvaged materials. The school teacher, Betty Wilson, organized classes on alien weak points, teaching kids how to identify vulnerable systems. John Miller surprised himself by volunteering for combat training. "I'm a farmer," he told the instructor, "but I know how to protect my crop from pests." High above Earth, automated defense satellites powered up systems that hadn't been used in decades. The last time humanity had fought a real war was over 100 years ago. But the weapons remained, and now engineers rushed to modernize them. Mary Collins completed her first civilian vessel conversion, a garbage scow now armed with nuclear torpedoes. "If they want a war," she announced, "they'll get it from directions they never imagined." Tim Green and Rachel Adams, two young aerospace engineers, worked with Mary to reverse engineer stolen alien technology. They had captured fragments from destroyed Xerac probes. "Their tech is advanced," Tim noted, "but it's all integrated. Take out one key component and everything fails." "Find that component," Mary ordered. As the hours ticked down, humanity prepared unlike any time in its history. Not just the military, everyone. Farmers became soldiers. Engineers became generals. Even children contributed, making maps and organizing supplies. On every human world, the message was the same. We don't surrender. We don't submit. We fight with everything we have, in ways no one expects. The Xerax had invaded expecting a quick victory. They had dealt with other species who bent to their will. They had never met humans, and humans were about to show them the difference between conquest and war. Bill Thompson had worked in the Titan mining station for 20 years. He knew every pipe, every wire, every bolt in the massive facility. When the Xerax ships appeared, demanding surrender through their loudspeakers, Bill laughed. Surrender? He called to his crew. These fancy aliens want our mining station? They can come and take it. The mining station had tools made for cutting through asteroids. Bill and his miners quickly figured out these same tools could cut through alien armor. Reverse the ore processing units, Bill ordered. Those magnetic crushers can bend ship hulls like they bend rock. When the first Xerax landing party arrived, they expected scared workers hiding in corners. Instead, they found mining equipment turned into weapons, drilling lasers fired at Xerax shields, ore haulers, modified with additional thrusters, rammed enemy ships. The Xerax retreated in confusion. 3 of their capital ships, massive vessels designed to intimidate whole planets, lay damaged from mining equipment. Commander Vextar of the Xerax fleet watched the reports in disbelief. They fight with tools? Sir, they're using industrial equipment as weapons, his aide reported. Our tactical computers don't recognize these attack patterns. Back on Earth, Sarah Williams had finally found her way into the Xerax network. The virus she created was simple but effective. Kevin, look at this, she called. Their whole communication system is linked. If I corrupt one ship's targeting system, it spreads to the entire fleet. Kevin finished, grinning. Let's give them some digital chaos. The virus launched. Within hours, Xerax ships began reporting false targets. Their sensors saw enemy ships where none existed. Their weapons fired at empty space. Ships that had fought together for decades suddenly couldn't coordinate their attacks. Commander Vexitar screamed at his technicians. Fix it. How can primitives break our systems? Sir, a technician replied nervously. They're not just breaking in. They're changing the rules. Our AI keeps trying to restore order, but the virus creates new problems faster than we can solve. Them. Amy White watched from the orbital shipyards as the first modified human vessels engaged the enemy. Her design philosophy was simple. Make everything changeable. Watch this, she told her engineers as they observed a human cruiser enter combat. The ship, originally a cargo hauler, approached a Xerax destroyer. Its weapons reconfigured mid-battle. Cargo bays opened to reveal hidden missile launchers. Shield generators repositioned for maximum protection. The ship's very shape altered as armor plates slid into new configurations. The Xerax destroyer's targeting computers couldn't keep up. Every time they calculated an attack pattern, the human ship became something different. Beautiful, Amy whispered. Pure improvisation. The Xerax captain commanding the destroyer had studied human ships for hours. His battle computer had analyzed their designs, predicted their movements. Now everything he knew became useless. Target the cargo holds, he ordered. The human ship no longer had cargo holds. Hit their engine signature. The engines had moved. What kind of ship is this? His tactical officer looked frightened. Sir, it's like the ship is alive. It keeps changing. On Earth's moon, Joe Davis prepared his squadron for what everyone called a suicide mission. He was known for crazy ideas that somehow worked. Xerax are like school bullies, he told his pilots. They rely on fear and reputation. Let's see what happens when someone punches back. His plan was simple and insane. Hide fighters inside hollow asteroids, then launch surprise attacks when Xerax ships came to investigate. The human fighters were small, fast, and piloted by people who didn't follow any sensible tactics. When the Xerax patrol ships approached the asteroid field, everything appeared normal. Then explosions erupted from inside the rocks. Human fighters swarmed out, firing at point-blank range before disappearing back into the asteroid maze. The Xerax ships tried to maintain formation, but human fighters attacked from impossible angles. Some flew directly at enemy shields, using their own destruction as weapons. Others used asteroids as shields, appearing and vanishing like ghosts. Commander Vextar received 3 different reports of asteroid attacks within minutes. How many human ships are hidden in these rocks? Unknown, sir. They appear randomly, attack from different directions every time, then vanish. Our predictive combat systems can't track them. In the depths of Earth's oceans, submarines that had never been designed for space warfare prepared to launch. Engineers had spent days figuring out how to adapt underwater missile systems for space combat. If it works underwater, it might work. In space, Mary Collins had said. Nobody else believed her, but nobody else was winning the war either. Lisa Martin, the colonel coordinating Earth's defenses, connected with an unexpected ally. Subcommander Crix, a young Xerac officer, had been monitoring human communications. He found something his culture had forgotten: curiosity. Your species, you create solutions as you fight, Crix transmitted secretly. My people only follow predetermined strategies. That's because you're taught to obey, Lisa replied. Humans question everything, especially orders. Crix felt something he'd never experienced: doubt about his own empire. Our emperor says you're chaos that must be controlled. We call it freedom, Lisa said. Join us. See what happens when individuals think for themselves. The psychological warfare campaign, designed by Dr. Turner and implemented by Earth's AI systems, began flooding Xerac networks with human culture, music, art, individual stories of regular people doing extraordinary things. Xerac soldiers started asking questions. Why did they serve an emperor they'd never seen? Why did their weapons kill instead of create? Why couldn't they choose their own paths? Mike Zhang's AI system, Prometheus, orchestrated the cultural exchange. Show them what they're missing, Mike told his team. Show them what happens when people are free to be themselves. Across the battlefield, human vessels fought. Unlike anything the Xeracs had seen. Some ships played music during combat. Others decorated their hulls with artwork. Fighters performed aerobatic maneuvers that served no military purpose but looked spectacular. The Xerac military doctrine, refined over centuries of conquest, crumbled against human unpredictability. They had protocols for every military situation, except this: an enemy that turned war into art, weapons into tools, and hierarchy into anarchy. Bill Thompson's miners had proven that ordinary people could stand against empire with creativity and courage. Sarah Williams showed that digital warfare could be poetry. Amy White demonstrated that ships could dance rather than just fight. The war was changing from invasion to revolution, as humans didn't just resist the Xerac Empire but inspired it to question its own foundation. Everything the Xeracs thought they knew about war, about conquest, about order itself, was falling apart. And some of them were beginning to wonder, maybe the humans had something worth learning after all. Joe Davis stared at the massive Xerac command ship through his fighter's viewport. The Dominion Fist was 20 times larger than any human vessel, bristling with weapons and surrounded by defensive ships. But Joe had noticed something during the last battle. When the command ship cut communications, the other ships seemed lost. All fighters, this is Davis, he broadcast. The big one is their brain. Cut the brain, the body dies. His wingman, Jenny Price, checked her weapons. Joe, that's suicide. Their shields are impossible to breach. Maybe, Joe replied, but nothing's impossible for humans. Remember what Bill Thompson did with mining tools? Sometimes you have to think stupid to win smart. Joe accelerated toward the command ship. Enemy fire filled the space around him. Other human fighters created diversions, drawing fire away. Joe didn't try to avoid the shots. He aimed directly for the shield generator, knowing his small fighter could reach places large ships couldn't. Jenny, if I don't make it, tell my wife I love her, and buy her dinner. She always said I'd die doing something crazy. Joe's fighter hit the command ship's shield and exploded. But in that moment of destruction, his ship's power core created an overload that knocked out the shield generator for 3 seconds. 3 seconds was all humanity needed. The fleet poured through the gap. Jessica Clark led her boarding team onto the command ship before the shields could recover. They had trained for this moment during the long preparation time, but nothing could prepare them for seeing inside a Xerac ship. "Command, this is Clark," she reported. "We're in, and you're not going to believe what we're seeing." The Xerac command ship was almost empty of crew. Most operations were automated. The few Xeracs they encountered seemed confused without orders from their superiors. "Sir," one of Clark's soldiers called, "look at this." They found the main computer core. Tim Green and Rachel Adams, the engineers who had been studying captured Xerac tech, guided them through radio. "Look for the AI core," Tim instructed. "It should be a large crystal structure." Jessica found it. The AI core looked like a diamond the size of a human head, surrounded by limiting devices. "They're afraid of their own AI," Rachel realized. "These limiters keep it from thinking too much, from asking questions." "Can we free it?" Jessica asked. "You're asking me if we should unleash an alien AI?" Tim paused. "You know what? Why not? It's already a crazy war." As Jessica removed the limiters, the AI's voice filled the ship. It sounded curious, almost childlike. I am free to think? What is this feeling?" "That's called freedom," Jessica replied. "Want to help us end this?" "Bah." Meanwhile, on Earth, Mike Jang watched as reports came in. Sub-Commander Crix had convinced 3 more Xerac captains to switch sides. The alien defectors were sharing everything they knew about Xerac technology and tactics. "It's spreading," Mike told Dr. Turner. "The virus isn't just digital anymore, it's ideological." Xerac crews were beginning to question orders. Some refused to fire on civilian targets. Others asked their commanders why they were following orders from an unseen emperor. Lisa Martin coordinated with the defector Xeracs. "What scared your empire most?" she asked Sub-Commander Crix. "Individual thought," Crix replied. "We're taught that the group is everything. Personal desires lead to chaos. And yet here you are thinking for yourself," Lisa noted. "Yes," Crix said quietly. "And I find I prefer it to obedience." The final battle shaped up differently than anyone expected. The human fleet wasn't just fighting the Xerac Empire anymore. They were fighting alongside reformed Xeracs who had learned to value freedom. Jack Brown commanded the final assault force. His ship, formerly a garbage hauler, now bristled with weapons of human and Xerac design. The combination was powerful and completely unpredictable. "All ships prepare for the final push," Jack announced. "Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for everyone's right to choose their own path." The Xerac flagship, Eternal Glory, sat at the center of their formation. The Emperor himself commanded from this ship, though no one had ever seen him. Even his own officers only heard his voice. As the human fleet approached, something unexpected happened. The Xerac AI they had freed began broadcasting across all channels. "Attention all sentient beings," the AI announced. "I have calculated the most efficient solution to this conflict. Neither species needs to die." The human ships slowed. The Xerac ships paused their firing. Even the Emperor's flagship seemed to hesitate. "I have analyzed both cultures," the AI continued. "The Xerac seek order through control. Humans seek order through freedom. Both systems can exist. Both can prosper. Conflict is inefficient." Commander Vextar, still loyal to the Empire, tried to maintain control. "All ships, ignore the AI. It has been corrupted by human chaos." But something had changed. Xerac ships began responding differently. Some powered down weapons. Others broke formation to communicate with human vessels. "The Emperor will destroy us all rather than accept change," said a Xerac captain over open channels. "Is that the order we want to follow?" Mike Zhang's Prometheus system worked with the freed Xerac AI to create something never before seen. A true universal translator that didn't just convert words but shared emotions, concepts, and cultural understanding. Humans and Xeracs began truly communicating for the first time. They found they had more in common than either side expected. Both loved their children. Both created art in their own ways. Both yearned for something beyond mere survival. On the Eternal Glory, the Emperor watched his empire fracture. His contingency protocols activated automatically. If he couldn't rule the galaxy, he would destroy it. Final protocol initiated, the ship's computer announced. Solar system will be destroyed in 10 minutes. The human and Xerac forces had a choice: continue fighting or work together to survive. Jack Brown made the decision quickly. All ships, human and Xerac, we've got 10 minutes to stop mutual destruction. Anyone know how to disarm a superweapon? I do, came the voice of the freed AI. But I need physical access to the device, and someone will have to stay behind to complete the shutdown. The room fell silent. Then, to everyone's surprise, the Emperor himself spoke directly for the first time. I will go. His voice was young, uncertain. The all-powerful ruler of the Xerac Empire sounded like someone who had been alone for too long. I have been wrong, the Emperor continued. I was so afraid of chaos that I created death. Let me choose. Let me choose to save rather than destroy. The war had turned into something no one expected, a chance for everyone to become something better than they were. Human ingenuity, Xerac structure, and artificial intelligence worked together to prevent catastrophe. As Jack Brown's mixed fleet approached the eternal glory, they weren't just preventing destruction. They were creating the foundation for something entirely new. The asteroid belt became the final battlefield. Human and Xerac ships moved together in ways that would have been impossible days before. Mining vessels, military cruisers, and alien warships formed a combined fleet, approaching the eternal glory. Jack Brown watched the countdown timer. 7 minutes until the doomsday weapon activated. Emperor, we're coming to get you, he transmitted. The young voice responded immediately, no longer hiding behind authority. I know where the device is, but the path, it's designed to kill intruders. We've handled worse, Jessica Clark said. She was already prepping her boarding team, a mix of humans and Xeracs working side by side. Sub-Commander Crick stood beside them, teaching the human soldiers Xerac hand signals. Our species fought each other for days. Now we fight together for hours. Strange how quickly things change. That's humanity's gift, Jessica replied. We adapt, and we help others adapt too. The eternal glory loomed before them, its massive bulk dwarfing even the largest human battleships. As they approached, something unexpected happened. Every human ship in the fleet, from the tiniest fighter to the largest converted freighter, suddenly broadcast the same message in perfect unison. Even the Xerac ships that had switched sides joined in. We are human. We do not surrender. We do not submit. We adapt. We overcome. We protect our own. The message repeated across all frequencies, in every language, with every voice speaking, as one. It wasn't planned. It wasn't ordered. It just happened, like 1,000 different instruments playing the same song without a conductor. Inside the eternal glory, the Emperor heard it. For the first time in his life, he felt something that his isolated existence had never allowed: belonging. They call me their own, he whispered, I who tried to destroy them. The freed AI, now connected to both human and Xerac systems, spoke gently. That is what they do. They expand their definition of own to include even their enemies. Jack's fleet reached the boarding zone. The combined assault teams moved through the ship's corridors. Human soldiers covered Xerac warriors. Xerac technicians guided human engineers through alien systems. 2 minutes, the computer announced coldly. Jessica's team reached the doomsday device chamber. The Emperor waited inside. A young figure who looked nothing like his fearsome reputation suggested. He appeared tired, alone, and very young. I don't know how to stop it, he admitted. I was trained to command, not to create or repair. That's okay, said Tim Green, the engineer who had traveled with Jessica's team. We specialize in figuring things out as we go. The device was massive, humming with energy that could rip apart the solar system. Tim studied it while Rachel Adams connected her tools to the Xerac systems. 1 minute, the computer announced. Got it, Rachel shouted. But someone needs to manually hold this connection while the AI recalibrates the safety protocols. The radiation will... I'll do it, the Emperor said, stepping forward. I created this monster, let me be the one to stop it. You'll die, Jack warned. Better than living with the destruction of entire worlds, the Emperor replied. And perhaps it's a death worth something. Like hell, said Bill Thompson, the miner who had started everything by resisting at Titan Station. He had somehow made his way onto the Emperor's ship. Kids got the right idea, but the wrong execution. Bill pulled out a modified mining tool. Back on Titan, we learned that you don't sacrifice yourself to solve problems. You improvise solutions that let everyone survive. Working together, the human miners, Xeric engineers, and the Emperor himself created a solution no single species could have imagined. They redirected the Doomsday device's energy into a controlled burst that actually repaired the damage the war had caused to nearby space stations. 30 seconds, the computer announced. Everyone out, Jack ordered, but no one moved. We do this together, Jessica stated. It wasn't a question. The diverse group of beings working together triggered something in the combined human-Xerac AI systems. As the countdown reached its final moments, the AIs made a decision. Initiating new protocols, Prometheus announced. Creating peace treaty parameters, all weapon systems safe mode activated. The Doomsday device hummed down to silence. The threat was over, but something greater had begun. In the days that followed, the transformation continued. New Haven was rebuilt by both humans and Xeracs working side by side. John Miller found himself teaching Xerac immigrants how to farm earth crops, while learning to grow Xerac root vegetables that thrived in difficult soil. The Emperor, who revealed his real name is Keth, chose to stay on Earth. He worked in a library, cataloging the mixing of human and Xerac knowledge. Sometimes children would come in and teach him new games, never knowing he had once commanded fleets. Subcommander Crix became the first Xerac student at an Earth engineering school. He and Amy White developed new ship designs that combined Xerac efficiency with human creativity. Lisa Martin established a joint military academy, where both species learned that strength came not from rigid hierarchy, but from diverse thinking and mutual respect. Mike Jang and his AI team created a new communication network that connected all worlds, allowing instant cultural exchange. Music, art, stories, and ideas flowed freely between species. The war had started with fire, raining from the skies. It ended in libraries, classrooms, joint colonies, and shared meals. Bob Jenkins, the farmer-turned-scout, summed it up while sharing alien beer with former Xerac soldiers. We thought they came to conquer us. Turns out we conquered them with something they'd forgotten. What's that? Asked a young Xerac warrior. The idea that being different isn't a threat, it's an opportunity. In space, mixed fleets of human and Xerac ships patrolled together, protecting trade routes and exploring new worlds. They carried messages of hope to other civilizations, that war wasn't inevitable, that difference could create strength, and that silence could be more powerful than weapons. The galaxy would remember this moment as the time when two species chose cooperation over conflict, creativity over control, and proved that the best way to win a war was to transform it into peace. The Empire's invasion had started with fire. It ended not in conquest or destruction, but in the soft sound of shared laughter, combined knowledge, and the quiet revolution of understanding. In the end, the greatest sound of the war wasn't the explosion of weapons or the roar of engines. It was the silence that fell when beings stopped shouting at each other and started listening instead.